All right, what's up? Brent here. I'm the jazz musician behind LearnJazzStandards.com, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a full-on chords analysis of the jazz standard, All of Me. Now, I've done some videos like this before, and they've definitely been a big hit. You know, analyzing chords for songs is really important, especially when you do it by Roman numerals, because it can help you understand the song so much better, help you learn it faster or much easier, and in general, it's going to help you become a better improviser just to understand that song and how it works. So I'm going to be going over a full Roman numeral chords analysis and how I relate everything to the parent key center and other parts of the song. All right, so I'm going to go behind the computer. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, I'm here behind the computer and let's take a look at my All of Me chords analysis. Now, like I've done for other videos like this, I've done one for Autumn Leaves, I've done one for All the Things You Are. Whenever I present these chords analysis, I like to color code them. And the reason I do that is because it helps us organize the song and helps us compartmentalize these chords so that we're not just looking at a bunch of chords and Roman numerals all clustered together. It's so much easier to understand when we can look at it this way. And the way I've organized these chords this time is in key centers, okay? I choose to look at the song as transferring into different key centers. And I'll talk more about that when we go into the analysis, but let's go over them really quickly. So the blue is the parent key, which is C major, concert C major. Now, be sure that if you're a B-flat instrument that you know to transpose a whole step up, so you'd be playing in D major, or if you're an E-flat instrument, you'd be playing in A major. So super important, always say this as a disclaimer, to know how to transpose depending on what instrument you are. But for demonstration purposes, we are in concert C here. Okay, so concert C is the parent key center, it's blue. Now, yellow is the key of D minor. Red is the key of A minor. And then going to the next page here, I have this little section here. It's green, and I'll talk about that in a second, why I color-coded that differently. Okay, but first off, let's just go through, and I'm going to play some basic piano voicings here through the chords so that we can kind of get the harmonic context, pair the sounds up with the chord symbols that we're seeing on the page. All right, cool. So now let's take a closer look here at the chords. We're starting here. We have the blue. It's the parent center key. We're starting on the tonic, which is C. Okay, pretty normal for a song to start on the tonic, although it doesn't always, so it's important to just keep note of that, of how that's working. Now take a look over at the next chord. This is where things get a little bit hazy. E7. What is that? Well, if you want to relate that to the parent key center, that's like a dominant 3, which is a little bit weird, right? You don't necessarily always see that. You could see that, but I think it's important always, and this is something to really take note of here and really pay attention to always look at the context of what the chords you're looking at are within. What context are they in? So in order to think about this E7, I want to look ahead to this A7 here. And then I want to look ahead to this D minor 7 right here. And I want to ask this question first. How is this A7 related to this D minor 7 right here? Okay. Now this is really classic in jazz harmony, really any kind of functional harmony, is the A7 is functioning as the 5 chord going into the 1 chord, which is D minor 7. So right there, I'm pretty confident that this is a 5 chord going into a D minor 7. Okay, pretty clear to me. So Now I'm going to look back at this E7 and think to myself, do I relate this back to the C, the tonic, or do I relate it to this new key center that I'm going to identify here? I personally want to relate it to D minor 7 because it's not uncommon to have a dominant 2 chord. Okay? It's pretty common to do that. So I'm thinking of this as a 2, 5, 1, which is a super common chord progression, going into D minor 7. Mind you, a little bit of a different 2, 5, 1 than a normal minor 2, 5, 1, but I think it still functions that way. So now suddenly we start in the tonic, we have the blue, now we're going to the yellow, which is D minor 7. Okay, moving forward now, we were just at D minor 7. Oh, one thing actually before we move on. I also have in parentheses down here sometimes, or other smaller markings, relating things to the parent's key center, or just another way to think of it. For example, you could think of this as the 5 of 2, because if we think of the D minor 7, how does it relate back to the parent key center here, C? Well, the D minor 7 is a 2 chord. So essentially, you have a 5 of 7. A7 is the 5 of 2. Sorry, the 5 of 2, not the 7. 5 of 2 going in there. Okay, underneath the D minor 7, like I just mentioned, 2 chord of the tonic, right? So we are thinking of this as a new key center, but it's also the 2 chord of the tonic. Hope that makes sense. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you. Okay, moving on now to measure 9 here. Now look, we're going back to the E7, but if you notice, I color-coded this differently. Like, why did I do that, right? Because we had an E7 up here, and I color-coded it yellow for D minor. Well, again, you got to look at the context of the chords. We have E7 here and bar 9. I have to look ahead. What's going to happen next? Well, now we're going to go to A minor. Okay, before we were hanging out in A7, right? We went from E7 to A7, but now we're going to A minor. And it doesn't appear to me that A minor is resolving to anything, right? It's not a dominant 7th chord, and usually a dominant 7th chord is resolving to something. So now I'm thinking, how does the E7 relate to the A minor 7? Well, it's pretty clear. Once again, this is a 5 going to a 1 relationship. So it's easiest to think of this as going into the key of A minor, or the relative minor of the parent key, right? The relative minor of C major is A minor. So 5 chord into A minor, aka the 5 of 6, because A minor 7 is the 6th chord to C major, or the relative minor. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, moving on. What do we have here? Now from the A minor 7, we're going to a D7. Again, we got to look at this in context. D7 going to a D minor 7, going to a G7, resolving to a C6 or a C major 7. Well, right away, I'm looking here at this D minor 7, G7, C6, and that's a classic 2-5-1 chord progression. You can't mistake that. That's the most common chord progression in jazz and even in popular music. So I recognize that right away. So now I'm thinking, what is this 2 chord doing, this D7 doing? Well, it's functioning as another dominant 2 going into C major. Remember up here? We thought the E7 was a dominant 2 going into D minor. Well, here, I'm calling this D7 a dominant 2 into C major. And you see this progression all the time in jazz. Landing on the dominant 2, then going to the minor 2, 5, 1. Okay? Pretty classic stuff so far. All right, now, essentially, we're on to, I guess what you would call the second A, A2 or something like that. So 17 through 20 here is really just a copy of what we have up here in the first 4 bars. Okay, same exact thing. All right, moving on to the next page. All right, and again, this is another copy here. We go to A7, which is acting as the 5 chord into D minor 7. Same exact analysis that we had before for this section, for the first 4 bars of this tune. First 8 bars, rather. Okay, but here's the section that gets interesting. This is the part that kind of closes the song off. Then we go to the F6, okay? And this is the 4 chord in C major. It's pretty clear that that's what's happening here. But then we have something interesting. The F minor 6. Okay? And if you think about this, this is kind of like a quick jump into the key of C minor, right? What's the 4 chord of C minor? Well, it's an F minor rather than an F major. So you can think of it that way. It's easiest just to think this is a 4 minor chord. So 4 major, 4 minor. You can see in the parentheses above, I have an F minor 7 here to a B flat 7. So you can think of this as a 2-5. And then it goes to a C major here in bar 27. Or you can do the 3 chord, which is E minor 7, which I prefer. So it'd be right, that A7 there is the dominant 6 chord to C major 7. And then we're ending this off with a 2-5-1. 2-5-1. So yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on this green section here, but if you really want to analyze it, you can think of it as going into the key of C minor just very temporarily. Okay, so pretty straightforward here. The main thing is to look at these chords in context, and that's probably the most important lesson we can grab from this particular tune, is if we look at each chord in context of where it's going to and where it's coming from, it can help us understand how it's all functioning and how it's all working. Almost every single one of these chords, I can relate back to the parent key center, right? I can think of this E7 as a dominant 3 to the parent key center. But I think it's more appropriate to think of it as a dominant 2. Or I can think of this A7 here as a dominant 6 to C, the parent key center. But if I'm looking at it going to D minor here, I'm thinking of it more as a 5 of 2, or the 5 chord going into a new key center, D minor 7. A lot of different ways you can think about this. But if you look at it in context, things kind of can make sense and get easier for you to understand.
All right, so I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any different approaches, let us know in the comments below. You know, there's more than one way to look at these songs. This is just the way I analyze this particular song. So share your thoughts, share your opinions, share what helps you think about this song, and share it with the community. All right, now if you like this sort of thing, you might want to check out our ebook and companion course, the Jazz Standards Playbook. It's a book that goes over 10 different jazz standard studies and does stuff like these Roman numeral analysis, a lot of different other tools for learning the song, and also some improv lessons. And if you know these 10 songs and you really know them well, it can help you with every other jazz standard and also has lots of valuable lessons. So we study these standards in this book. So if you want to check that out, go to thejazzstandardsplaybook.com and you can check that out there if you think that's going to be helpful for you. All right, now, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you like our Facebook page, and of course, make sure you join our jazz community at learnjazzstandards.com/join. I'm Brent, I'm signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.